You know what the and is saying? Tomorrow matters. I have to start to plan for tomorrow because tomorrow is of significance. For many of us, we live paycheck to paycheck, and so because of that, we can't begin to think about tomorrow. And also because for you and I, especially if you've grown up going to church at all, we've bought into some lies that Scripture hasn't necessarily indicated or how we're supposed to live our life, but just because we've taken some very general principles, we've used these principles, these lies, to justify some of our behaviors. Some of the lies I've seen believers use. Number one, God has promised to take care of me so I don't have to concern myself with money. I can go and do whatever I want. God's going to take care of me. Now, how many of y'all know that God's going to take care of you? That's a good thing. God is going to take care of you. But the thing is, right now, God could be taking care of you right now in anticipation of what's coming in your life. And He gives you, He provides for you, and you go and waste what God had provided, and then you wonder why 15 years from now, well, where was God in all of this? God says, I've been there all along, I had been providing, but you squandered that which I had provided. Number two, God's going to prosper me if I just work hard enough and have enough faith. Now, you go up on TV and you can see some TV preachers that are going to tell you, hey, God said this and God did this, and the Bible doesn't actually say that. And I believe God's going to take care of us, that there are certain principles we should instill, but sometimes I think that we as Christians can think that budgets just work like magic, like we're just going to kind of do our thing, and magically at the end of the week or the end of the month, it's all going to work out. When a budget isn't magic, but it's math, it's dollars and cents, it's figuring out a system to make sure that I'm taking advantage of what God has given me and not squandering it. Number three, God's more concerned with my heart than what I do with my money. There's a faith works element to this discussion about finances. Is God primarily concerned about your heart? Absolutely. But if our heart is right, if our heart is pursuing after Jesus, and Jesus says, here's some practical principles that you can instill in your life to make sure that you get this right. If our heart's in tune with what He's doing, then He says, then start to develop a plan. And that's why each week of this series, we've tried to give just one practical takeaway. If you're going to develop a system in your life to discover financial freedom, it doesn't even begin with a budget. It begins, we said week one on the topic of less is more, it begins by figuring out in your life what's really important. In your life and your family's in life, what are the core things that are important to us as a family? And let's budget for those things. Let's have a plan for those things to make sure I do those things right. Instead, most of us say we don't really have a plan. And then because a lot of us are kind of ADD about the way we do our finances, we say we didn't really work out a plan. We're kind of going through life, and then this pops up, and wow, that looks really good, and I can afford that. Let's go do that. And then this pops up, and let me go do this. That looks really good, and before we know it, we've out-punted our coverage, and we find ourselves stressing because I made all these commitments, and now I can't live up to all of this, and we start to feel the pinch because there was never any plan when it came to our finances. God is concerned with your heart, but your heart, it's why Jesus talked about this so much. He knew that our heart was going to guide us towards making the right financial decisions, and there's a faith works element to that discussion.